Hello, everyone. Welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. This is a live show that we do every week, and we being the SharePoint consultants, some of the SharePoint consultants at Rackspace. These sessions typically revolve around out-of-the-box features and things that kind of relate to business solutions. So whether it's business intelligence, workflows, planning and design governance, all that kind of stuff. So we are happy to have you. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to introduce myself and then let the other members of the team do the same. And then we have Kevin Hughes, who is a newer member of our team, who's going to do a presentation for us today. So my name is Joelle Farley. I am a consultant on the Business Solutions team, and I have worked with SharePoint since SharePoint 2007 was released full-time, and I typically do a lot with information architecture, taxonomy, and governance, as well as building out-of-the-box features with workflows, some of the stuff that Laura is such an awesome expert in. I do some of that stuff as well. And Laura is not with us today. She is actually teaching a training class, but she may pop in sometimes. She does when she teaches the training class. All right, so let's go ahead. Tavis, will you go ahead and introduce yourself next?
My name is Tavis Lovell, and as already mentioned, I'm on the Business Solutions team, and I am the Business Intelligence Developer on the team, so I deal with a lot of dashboarding and reporting and SQL Server-y type of stuff sometimes even, so that's me.
And Steven?
Hi, I'm Steven Wilson. I am sort of the infrastructure specialist on the team. I also do a lot of work with initial setup, just basic site taxonomy, helping people get rolling with SharePoint when they first get it installed and are kind of wandering their way through the beginning aspects of the application.
All right, and then Kevin, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then just go ahead right into your presentation. And also, sorry, before you start, I did want to mention one thing. If you guys have any questions, there is the Q&A feature. You'll see that on YouTube as well as Google+. Feel free to put your questions in there, and then as we go through, I'll be monitoring that, and I will ask Kevin any of those questions, or if they don't relate to Kevin's presentation, we'll answer them at the end. All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hughes, SharePoint architect here at Rackspace, and I'm going to go ahead and put up a little bit of blurb about me, so as we talk you can have reference. I've been around SharePoint for a long time. I've been in IT for even longer, and I'm based in Kansas City, have a lot of alphabet soup from a lot of different certifications, but don't let that bother you. I'm told I'm a really nice guy, at least that's what my PR department says. So today's topic, I'm going to dive right in, and we're going to talk about promoted links, or what I like to call out-of-the-box live tiles for SharePoint 2013. So what are promoted links? Well, let's take a look at typical navigation in a web page. On the left here, you see some standard text on a page. These are done with regular HTML code to create hyperlinks. I put them in a bulleted list to make them kind of pretty, but essentially in order to edit those or update them or add to that list, you're going to be editing the page code. Or in SharePoint, you're going to be editing the page and editing the text on it, so you would need that kind of conditions to do that. On the right, however, we have a different type of way to show the exact same links. This is from a SharePoint links list. In this case, I'm just showing the links list on the same page through a SharePoint list view, but I don't necessarily have to give someone access to edit the page in order to update these links. I just need to be able to give them access or permissions to the links list behind the scenes, and as it's updated, they will show up here. but they're kind of boring. They're kind of old school. Promoted links, however, are more graphic. They're icon-based hyperlinks. They're much more eye-catching. They are touch-friendly, where the regular links aren't always touch-friendly on some of the smaller devices, without knowing how to really control the scroll or the zoom in and out function on cell phones or even tablets. And they have a nice nifty neato mouse hover effect, which is why Microsoft calls them live tiles. It's very much like the tiles on Windows 8. If you've seen that, irritated or not by it, that's kind of the way we go now. So let's actually show you what live tiles can do. Okay. So here's a page with, on a basic portal page with the exact same tiles I just showed you. As you notice, they have the nice mouse hover effect that can show you even more information if there's descriptions about exactly what that tile does. And most of my clients really like this, not only for the graphic nature and it kind of catches the eye, but also their users seem to feel that this is very interactive because they get this nifty hover effect. So what does all that mean? Well, as I said, this is just a list. Like most things in SharePoint, it's list driven. So let's talk about exactly how to make this work. On this page, this is just inserted a list view, just like I would insert a view of the documents here or a view of anything else. It's just the way we show things on pages. This is not the actual list itself. Let's actually go to that and show you what that looks like. We would go to that by going to Site Contents. And this particular one is, since I've named this site a Knowledge Center, I'm going to name this the Top Links. So we'll take a look at how this is constructed when one it's already done, and then we'll show you how to create one. In order to modify or edit this one, we can't really do so from this view. This is just the tiles view. We need to actually look at a different view, so we go up to our List tab. Now this will require you to have permissions to edit this in order to see this. And we have the ability to change our view, and we'll look at all promoted links. Now when we look at the all promoted links, we don't see the graphics, we see all the data. And so we can see that I have 7 different links, just like I had 7 different buttons. And each one of those has a title, which is what showed up, which is what shows up before the mouse hover. That's the title. Then the background image location, that's just the path to show you the image that's going to show up here in the tile. The description is what shows up after when the mouse hover, this extra little text here. Anything you put in the description will show up there. And then the link location is just like a links list. It's going to tell us exactly where this is going to go when you click on it. We do actually get to choose what kind of launch behavior. I'll show you the choices for that. And we get to put them in a particular order. One thing cool about SharePoint 2013 is that they've, in any view that we're not grouping or sorting or grouping, we can actually edit this without going into the individual items. So in case we needed to change the order of these, we would just need to go into Quick Edit, or we could click Edit this list here in this area here. And that takes us into our Quick Edit view, and we could change up the numbers for this, or correct spelling, or anything else we needed to do. Let's say I want to put that one in the 7th position and this one in the 4th, and then we just stop editing and we go back and refresh our page, and now our pictures change. So even without any code whatsoever, we're making a lot of things really cool and nifty. So let's take a look at what it takes to actually create one of these from scratch. In this hypothetical company, we have quite a few departments that we might have subsites for, as we do here. These different departments, we don't have any way to get to them or have the user get to them yet, so let's create a promoted links list for that. I'm going to leave this here so I can easily refer to it, and as you can see, if I hover over this, I will find the path, so that'll be easy for me to reference in a minute. Then I've already created this, but let me show you exactly how to create a promoted links list. We would go to our site contents, or if you don't see site contents over on the quick launch area of your site, you can always get to it with your little settings cog and site contents here. One of these two will both get you to this location. We would add an app, and once we add an app, we will see an option to create a promoted links list. Now, the promoted links list is available with the standard site features, so a team site is sufficient for this. You don't have to have any special publishing features or anything else, in case you're wondering. And once you create, click on the promoted links icon to add it, just type in a name and create, and you'll see that our promoted links list has shown up here. So, and we can go into it and edit that. I'm going to go back to our departments list, though, because that's what we want to actually do, so we'll pretend we're doing something productive. As you can see, initially it's empty, so it's going to tell you it's empty, and it's going to give you a prompt to go to the All Promoted Links view, so we don't even have to worry about where to go find it. And now we have our basic list view, and all we have to do is start adding new items. So as you can see, we have all those fields that we looked at before as form fields. Our title, let's start off with, I believe the very first department was Curriculum and Instruction. This is a basic text field, so you can type in practically anything there. The background image location. Now this helps if you've already got a lot of images already uploaded. Let me show you some of the images that I use. I like to keep them in the site collection images, but you can keep them in any images library, picture library, and you should be fine. They do need to be pre-uploaded. The mechanism for the promoted links don't necessarily give you the option to upload in process. Little tidbit on what kind of picture works best for this: square ones. If they're odd shaped, such as you see this blue flame that's odd shaped, this is pretty much what you're going to see, so you're not going to see all of the actual picture. Same thing if we wanted to use our Contoso logo, you're not going to see the entire logo in a promoted links tile. So what about how big? Well, how big is not as important as whether it's square or not. However, if it is very large, SharePoint will not be able to reduce it small enough on the fly in order to be able to show it in a tile. A good reference, though, of what you're going to see is exactly what you see in an images library. So as we go through our pictures here, we can see all of these should be fine. We shouldn't have any difficulty with these because they all show up nicely as tiles. So let's go back to, we were creating curriculum instruction, so here's our tile. We want to get the path to it, and I found the easiest way is go ahead and click on it to get its properties, and we will right-click on the name to copy the shortcut. Now this is just my method. If you have another method to use for this, go for it. I like the copy and paste a lot. So we'll paste that in there. Don't worry about type the description. You're never going to see that in a promoted links area, so we don't necessarily have to do that. Type in the description here. Pardon my fingers aren't necessarily up to speed with my brain some days. Okay, now what about the link location? Well, we want it to go to that subsite. So let's go back and look at our list of subsites. And just like before, we can copy the shortcut, paste that in here. Again, don't worry about the description. We're having the live tile do all that for us. In launch behavior, the default is in page navigation, which we saw on all the entries in our previous, when we were looking at the entire list. So what does that really mean? It means that if we click on this link, and I'll show you what that means back here in Knowledge Center. It means that if we happen to click on one of these links, it's just going to open a new page in the same tab or the same window. If we choose the other option, which is a dialog, it's going to attempt to open that inside a kind of a pop-up in front of our browser window. If we choose New Tab, then that is going to open a new tab, or in the case of, if you're not using tabs or if you got your settings so to not use tabs, you will it'll open in a new window. And then we're going to choose the end page for this, and then you get to choose its order. And as you saw, we can change that later, so let's save that. I'm going to do a couple more here. I'm not going to do all of the departments just for the sake of time. Let's see. First thing we're going to do here, facilities is next. So, and then our background image. I think I have an image we can use for facilities. Saw it here a minute ago. Yep, there we go. Same steps, just copying and pasting the paths, the shortcut. And in link location, we're going to get the shortcut for that. We're going to put that into here. Still going to do in page, and we're going to make that button number 2. You notice it does have some sort of IntelliSense. IntelliSense is kind of a Visual Studio word. Don't worry about that. I've done so many things on here, it's going to come up with some weird entries. Now, if you're wondering exactly what this is looking like, we can always go back to our tiles view, and we see how our tiles are actually going to look. And one of the things that I like to do sometimes is have a kind of a multi-tiered promoted links navigation structure. You look back on our Knowledge Center, we actually have a departments promoted link tile, and that should take us to our departments promoted links list, which we've already created. So that is not a bad thing. We might, though, want this to show on another page. So let's go back to our typical page. This is, as you might, from the slide, this is has all the regular hyperlinks. We might want to be showing perhaps the differences in the types of navigation. I often need to. So I might want to put this on a page, our promoted links. In order to do that, I'm going to edit the page. And in one of these cells of this table I've created, I'm going to go up to our tabs and choose Insert. And I'm going to insert a web part. And I'm going to choose our departments promoted links list. Now, since I didn't put a description for departments, I'm not going to see exactly what it is. In this case, I just have to depend on knowing what I built. We're going to add that, and we see that our department's promoted links list now shows up in our page. We can edit the properties of this now, since it's a web part just like anything else. If we wish to, since we've got departments, this is a web part, like if you recall the links list, so that has the name departments. This has departments too. Then that's SharePoint's way of making them unique on a page. We can, however, perhaps if we don't want to have that, we can change the name so that we don't have the 1 and the 2. Or we might not even want to show the name at all and just have buttons, in which case we would choose to not show the Chrome. For those new to SharePoint, Chrome is showing the title and menus and borders and so forth, the flashy stuff, so they call it Chrome. It has nothing to do with the Chrome web browser. If we click OK, now we can see that we don't have a 1 and a 2. We just have department links. And if we check in our page, this one has to be checked in published because I've created it as a publishing page. We chose to not show the Chrome, so now we just see our buttons. And now curriculum instruction all go to the same location. So that's promoted links in a nutshell. Let's I'll do something else here. And come on.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and post those and we can get those answered.
And just a second, and I will have...
Someone did ask a question. They wrote, can you wrap tiles? And from what I understand, you can't really wrap them, but if you get more than can be contained in the area, it has a slider so that you can go back and forth between them. Otherwise, you would have to get like some JavaScript involved or something like that to manipulate the tiles in some custom way. But through just the web parts and the promoted links themselves, there's not really a way to wrap those.
Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. I'm gonna, if we show here, we're gonna make promoted links work for you.
Well, there we go. That'll make a great thing.
So, as Stephen was saying, out of the box. In fact, let me talk about this for a minute. A lot of the big talks now have to do with responsive design. So, let's go back to showing our page here. In responsive design, what I mean by that is, as we have different browsers, I'm going to get rid of this and put a different set of links here so we can demo this. Um, responsive design means as the screen size changes, the design of the page adapts to the new screen size. And if you put too many links into a list for the size of the area you have, then you get what Stephen was talking about here. You get these little scroll buttons. And we're getting this now because our KC top links, which was the promoted links list we had on our first page, it has too many icons to show in this little space that I've given it. This would be the same case if on our Knowledge Center, if I reduce the size of the browser to simulate the size of, say, on a tablet, we're also again going to get our scroll tabs to scroll back and forth. And while this is nice functionality, it is not necessarily what users like to see. It's also not elegant, as I like to say. So back on our typical page, I'm simulating that by constraining it within a tablet, so, or within a table cell. So let's go back to our not what I want. Okay. Pardon me while I switch screens all over the place here. So what Stephen was talking about was to get this idea of wrapping tiles to multiple lines. Normally, a jQuery solution, such as from Creative SharePoint, which has a really good blog post on how to do that, it does require that solution and many like them in order to function consistently. Will require your whoever's doing it to have permissions to write to the display templates folder at that location. So basically, site collection administrator is usually sufficient for that, which is a lot more than most people are comfortable with giving people are just designing sites. It also requires a level of comfort with jQuery in order to troubleshoot it, because things do go wrong, and sometimes even just having multiple jQuery scripts on a same page can make them totally and completely blow up, so to speak. However, I've come up with a way to do this with custom styles. CSS code. Now, I say code, but CSS to me is just branding. It's not really writing code. It's any web designer or site admin will be able to apply what I'm about to show you. It can be applied site-wide or on a page-by-page basis. And all it requires permissions for is to be able to edit a page and add scriptable web parts to a page, which is included in the basic design permission level. So what does that actually look like? Well, if I'm going to apply throughout a site, all I need in order to wrap this, or to make the promoted links wrap into multi-lines, is add 2 lines of code to a custom style sheet. Now, the custom style sheet can be referenced from a custom master page, if you've created one of those, and I'm sure we've got some another one of these power hours on how to do that. Or it can be the style sheet can be referenced through the alternate CSS settings in the site collection settings, and not going to show you that because that gets a lot further into the site administration than I really want to get into today. But as you can see, it's only 2 lines of CSS. The first one to tell the body of the web part to expand to the limits of the space you're given. And then The second line is to tell the header to be hidden. By doing both of those, we get the ability to wrap the promoted links into multiple lines. We can also apply this to a single page by adding a script editor web part to a page and adding the code, the same 2 lines inside the style tags, and we don't actually have to have a separate style sheet. So let's take a look at exactly what that looks like. We're going to go back to our typical page here, and we have our KC top links. We have our little navigation buttons back and forth. Just scroll through here, but as we said, that's not necessarily elegant. So let's assume that we don't want to do this site-wide. Doing it site-wide would affect the Knowledge Center, where we want the big buttons to be big, bold, and available. But we do want that to happen here. So let's edit this page. And we can put this, what we're going to do here is we're going to add some those 2 lines of code to this page. Now I can't just add them here like this, because that will not necessarily do anything. That'll just show up as text, and SharePoint will not really do anything with it. So let's get rid of that. We have to put it into into the page in a way that SharePoint will interpret that as code that is part of the page. So how do we do that? We're going to insert. Now remember, we had the one of the caveats of doing this is you need the permissions to add a scriptable web part. What does that mean? A web part that we find under media and content. It can either be a content editor web part. Now, a content editor web part, if we add that to the page, then we need to put this code into a text file in a library, and then we reference that link inside the content editor web part properties. Wow, is that sounding complex? So let's just add a scriptable web part called a script editor, which allows us, this is new to 2013, which allows us to insert HTML snippets, scripts like jQuery, or in this case, CSS. We're going to add that, and now we have our little script editor web part. One nice little thing about this is that one of the properties of this part is that it is automatically going to be hidden on our page. So it doesn't really matter where we put it. No one is ever going to see it once they check it out in the browser. So let's edit this. And you notice when we edit this, we're not editing the properties of the web part. We're just adding code. Now, some of you might have seen another little link up in our ribbon before I get here, and when I did insert, there's this embed code. This does the exact same thing. It'll actually, with embed code, actually puts a script editor web part into that wherever you had the cursor on your page. So I just went the long way. Embed code's the shortcut to get to exactly right here. So now if we put our 2 lines of style sheet code, CSS code, not really doing anything here. It's not a lot of code. We say insert, and now you see automatically we have multi-lines. If we check this in and publish it, oh, come on, refresh the page. What did I do? Do I have another piece of code on here? I don't think so. I think my page is locked up. Happens in demos, doesn't it? Always happens in demos. Something always goes wrong. So let's just open it again from our site contents. Pages, same typical page. Okay. Well, you're gonna learn something else here today, boys and girls. When we have a web part that we think is screwing things up, we go to the web part management page. We go up to our address bar and we put in a query string with a question mark, and we're going to say contents equals 1, and that takes us to our web part maintenance page, where we can take a look at all the web parts that are here. And this is a little more admin-y than we usually get here, but I want to show you what we're doing. Let's delete our script editor web part, and let's check it out. You wouldn't normally have to do that. And we'll go back to the web part page. Now we should be fine. So let me see exactly what we did here. What did I screw up? I've been known to screw things up before. Okay, well, that seems to be working. Check it in and publish. Okay. So apparently putting it in line here in this next cell was a problem in the order of, I would say, I'm imagining the order of code here, so there was some sort of conflict. Putting it outside the table solved our problem. So I've learned something as well. Now I can put as many links as I want here, and we'll have the same behavior. Since I only put it on the page, it didn't affect our knowledge center, so we're not doing it site-wide. If I shrink this down, you can see that the page now we have a lot fewer in a row, because now our design is responsive. We can also, I've had some times where we've wanted to create such a links list, say on a right-hand column, and we want this to be vertical. If we want to guarantee that they're always vertical, that's not difficult either. All we need to do, let me edit our snippet, and the only thing I need to do is change the width from 100% to, and this is particular, 170 pixels. 170 pixels is just a few pixels wider than the tile itself, and this limits it so that they all now appear vertically, and it won't matter what the screen changes, they will always appear vertical. Again, we're doing this with just styles, there's no real code involved, so anybody that can do this, anybody that can edit a page can do this. So, that being said, you think that answers our question there, Stephen? I think it does.
Absolutely. That's a great solution.
Okay, so let's go one more. How about that?
I don't know if you can see the questions, but there is. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I think the let's see. There was one question. Okay, is there an easy way to see all of the images that SharePoint provides for promoted links? And I think the answer to that is no. And I think what they're trying to say there is there an easy way to browse your images? And there's not. It doesn't have one of the browse buttons like it does in other areas where you can kind of browse around your site and look for images and stuff. So you'd have to actually go pull the URL for your image and then put that in there.
Yeah, that's correct. Unfortunately, the one thing, SharePoint doesn't really provide any tile size images out of the box anyway. So what most of my clients have wanted are their own customized images anyway. So we just either have them create them with their own branding, or we find free to use ones off the internet. Or in some cases, I've had clients purchase tile sets to use. But no, there's no browse built into this particular form, and I wouldn't even attempt to modify it so that it did. The code behind this is, well beyond my ability to create a customized promoted links.
We have some on that same note, and I was going to mention it as well. So Carlos mentions that there is a tool called, it's actually called Metro Studio, and it's by Sync Fusion, where you can easily make free icons, like Metro style icons. And that's what I use for a lot of my clients, because it is free, and you can actually choose all the colors. You can put in the exact hex code and everything if they have specific colors. And so he mentioned that, and that's syncfusion.com/download/Metro Studio. So that's a really good tool. Thanks, Carlos, for bringing that up. And I think we have one more. Dan asked, I may have missed this earlier, but are there certain site collection features that need to be activated?
Just the standard site web parts feature.
All right, thanks. I think that's it. Stephen, do you see any other ones, or did I get them all?
You got them all.
All right.
One thing, while we're before I get into the next thing, where we're going to ramp this up a little bit, even from here, might have noticed when I went to the link for the photo gallery, these are not actually photos. These are links to views in a photo gallery. So these tile images, except for this one here, these tile images just link to particular views that are created in a photo library. So all the photos here just filtered out with for views to be able to see the different event with some metadata. But this is a promoted links list here, and what I've done for this, let me show you the code here, is actually use a picture from the picture library. But if you notice the code here, let me open one of these so we can see it a little better. Edit the item. I don't know if you can see it better now or not, but I'm actually using the thumbnail for this image. So this image is actually like 2,000 by 2,000 pixels and is too large for SharePoint to render properly in a tile. But I've referenced the thumbnail, since SharePoint, whenever you upload an image, automatically creates a thumbnail of the image to use as the tile. So that might be an option for you. And it always creates the tile as a JPEG. If you're interested in doing that, you should be able to, if you have access to look at the library, you will have access to do the thumbnails by putting a /_t/ right after the name of the library, and then just whatever the name of the photo was with its full file extension, except there's an underscore instead of a period. And then the thumbnails are always JPEGs. So what that got us is the ability for those thumbnail images to be our tiles. Kind of a little cute. But But what I wanted to show at this point, as we have a little time left, is something that I don't have up here. There it is. Where's my else? There it is. I wanted to show you the different CSS properties that you can manipulate on the promoted link web part. So any of these CSS properties can be called from either a custom style sheet or used on a single page in order to style your promoted links. And what does that mean? That means we pretty much have total control over their look and feel. Not only can we make them go into multiple lines or straight up and down, but we can change their size, we can change their colors, we can change the fonts. Let's take a look at that. Now, I'm not going to get into actually writing all the code right now, but I do have a code that is already written that I will show you. I'm going to paste it here so you can see that I'm actually using quite a few of these properties in order to be able to change what the promoted links actually do. Notice the very first couple of things I have up here are the promoted link body and width to do the 100 to instead of now wrap them into multiple lines or single line. Remember I said 170 pixels is the width of a single one, but notice I only put 100, so I'm going to shrink them. So let's take a look at what that actually does. Let's go down here to our snippet editor, get rid of what's there, and I'm going to paste in this. Now we have our promoted links smaller, different colors, different fonts. I've shrunk the font down to fit, changed the font around to fit, and changed this from a gray to a blue, so it's a little more branded for this site instead of using grays. If I happen to shrink the size, then it is still responsive because I've used those properties to be able to wrap it. But now I can fit this into a much smaller area and take up a lot less screen real estate on my page. Now that's a lot more than, a lot more code than I want to get into actually showing how to write it, but experiment as you like. Knowing that you can have total control over your promoted links now, and you don't have to just take just the out-of-the-box look and feel. You can do all kinds of things with them. All you have to do is add little styling. And then, let's see. If, however, you want to create your own promoted links, we actually have at Rackspace some instructional videos on how to create your promoted links list and how to put them on pages at this location. It's a 3-video series, but also has step-by-step instructions available. So check it out. So what we've learned today is promoted links add a level of interactivity to a page. They're touch-friendly, even the little ones. They can be created using most any picture, squares best, and promoted links can be styled to basic design level styled with basic design level permissions, just as we saw with the CSS, which to me, anything you can do through the user interface without having to open Visual Studio or some other code editing, then it's a business solution. It's an out of the box to me. So, any final questions?
Yeah, it looks like we do. Let's see. So Carlos wanted to mention a gotcha. There is a 255 character limit on the link URL. To get around this, I've had to use JavaScript to replace the URL after the page renders. So it's just a gotcha Carlos wanted to mention. And then I think there was, Stephen, did you grab the question? There was a question that they were asking if you could paste the CSS for them.
Yeah, that one just disappeared, and I don't know why. They just asked if the slide that you had with all the CSS properties, Kevin, if you could, give a link or something where they could get that.
Actually,
and Kevin,
I'll be putting that up in my blog later today.
Okay, yeah, and Kevin, also just for future reference, there's a showcase button, and you can always paste like links and stuff in there if you want to during the presentation. But since you're putting on the blog, that's another good place for them to go.
Yeah, I'll be putting the. I've already got the that actual CSS, the long one that I did for the demo. I've got a three entry series on my blog, and I'll be putting that code into a blog entry later today.
Okay, great. So check out Kevin's blog, and then we do have just a comment. It looks like it says, "Wow, that is awesome! Better than an image slider," from Michael. And then if you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them in when we have a couple more minutes. Otherwise, thanks, Kevin. Great presentation.
Oh, and don't forget, next week we're going to have collect signatures workflow
Yes.
as a topic.
Yep. So we're talking about that workflow. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions yet. Let me try refreshing just in case. Nope. Don't think so. All right, well then we're good for today. Thanks so much everyone for joining us. If you have any other questions, feel free to bring them to next week's session and we'll be happy to answer them. Have a good day.
Thank you.